Munira, welcome to Geneva. How does it feel to be representing American youth here at the UN headquarters in Geneva?
It's a really incredible opportunity to really, take young Americans behind the scene of a really important, international organization and to help them better understand how the Human Rights Council works and the various countries that are a part of the Human Rights Council and really the history also of this really incredible building of the Palace of Nations.
So Munira, you've been the U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations for several months now. What has been the most interesting experience you have had, and what do you think you've achieved?
Yeah, for me, the most important thing was really being able to have really, candid discussions with young Americans, across the country, and not only reaching them through social media, but almost through a listening tour, and being able to visit their schools and seeing how, the things that they've told me, their concerns and their ideas, and how that's really shaped my year as Youth Observer, I think speaks to kind of the power and importance of this position. And then also kind of a highlight of this year. Geneva definitely has been a highlight of this year, but being able to go to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit and, meet with young entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs from across the globe and just to demonstrate the importance of not only investing in young people, but also investing in women.
And this is your first time here in Geneva. What has your experience been like at the UN and especially experiencing the Human Rights Council?
What I've really seen at the United Nations is how all these global issues cannot be solved by one country. The importance of countries coming together, and not only countries, but also civil society, businesses. We need all people to really have, a hand in shaping, a better world.
Today you're going to meet with several young UN staffers. What would you say to them, and maybe what would you ask them about the role that youth can play at the United Nations?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear, from their kind of vantage point, how their experience has been as young people in this institution, but also kind of how we can come together as young people throughout, from various countries, from various organizations, and really collaborate on solving these issues. I think that, young people are really at the very center of all of the global issues. Not only are they the ones who are most vulnerable to these issues, but they tend to have, the least amount of representation and voice.
You recently had the opportunity to meet the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and several high-ranking officials from the UN. What was it like to speak to them, and what do you feel like young people can do to influence the decisions that are being made by American leaders and UN officials?
Yeah, I think it's really about giving young people the opportunity to be able to sit, at the table. And I think through being Youth Observer, I've really gotten a chance to be able to do that in meeting with, Ambassador Haley and being able to talk about various issues that affect young people. And so, I think it really comes down to giving young people the opportunity to not only be at the table, but also be leading the table. And that not only are they, the future, but also that they're necessary in creating a better world today as well.
And finally, what advice would you give to a young American who's looking to influence the future that he or she might have in the United States or someone living elsewhere in the world? What advice would you give them to empower youth voices?
Yeah, the first thing is to not discount the power of your own voice. I think that especially as young people, we think we're not experienced enough, we're not the right age to be working on these issues, but we actually need people getting started from the get-go. Your voice is important. You bring a perspective, a sense of urgency, some impatience that's necessary to kind of pushing the envelope. And so I think it's not only about kind of looking to the world and seeing, global issues, but also thinking about how can I bring these issues, these kind of solutions home. And seeing how you can work with organizations and local governments to create change.
Thank you, Munira. Enjoy the rest of your time here at the UN in Geneva.
Thank you.